How do people go from being normal, everyday civilians to stone-cold killing machines? Well, it's all thanks to extreme, elite military training. Welcome back, Charlie here. Today we'll look at some insane things soldiers have to go through to become elite special forces. From playing hot potato with a live grenade, to breaking bricks set on fire with their heads. The first training exercise we'll look at is named Hand Grenade Hot Potato. We've all played the game Hot Potato. Players gather in a circle and toss an object to one another while music plays. The player holding the object when the music stops is eliminated. In China, they do this as part of military training, but instead of using a potato, they use a live hand grenade. This means that if you're holding the grenade when the music ends, you don't just lose the game, you lose your life as well. When the music stops, the last soldier holding the grenade has to throw it into a pit. If they don't, then they would be blown up. This is an incredibly extreme and high-stakes game. The Chinese military do this to help soldiers cope under pressure. Thankfully, in leaked videos of this, no soldiers were ever hurt. But I wonder if any slow soldiers have ever been blown up while playing this game. It now makes sense why so many US politicians are voicing their concerns about China's military. If they can cope with the pressure of having a live grenade in their hand, then I'm sure they can cope in a war zone. But elite special forces can't just be good under pressure. They also have to be incredibly tough. That's why one training exercise involves breaking concrete on their heads. This is done in China and in South Korea. You may think, why would a soldier need to smash bricks over their heads? Well, part of it is copying techniques from monks. Monks are able to master pain. That way, if soldiers are hurt in the battlefield, they won't even react. And many believe it's also partly just for show. Chinese and South Korean militaries do this to show they're tough as nails. It also scares and intimidates their enemy. Just imagine going into a war zone with people who break bricks over their heads in training. The Chinese army is famous for their martial arts presentations, showing that even without a weapon, they could defeat almost any army in the world. Now, let's look at a military training exercise which is just plain weird. The exercise is known as Cobra Gold. Allied militaries from many countries participate. The military exercises are held in Thailand, but armies from South Korea, Malaysia, Singapore, and the USA are all involved. During the exercise, US troops drink cobra blood. The exercise also has an underwater assault course, a landmine destruction course, and many firearms exercises. But the most famous and scary event is the Cobra Blood Drink. Troops literally drink blood from a cobra's mouth. Cobras are one of the most venomous snakes in the world. But to become elite, troops must complete this activity. You may be wondering, why do they even do this? Well, it's all about learning how to survive in the wild. Troops are taught how to eat jungle plants and insects. But when there are no edible plants or insects, you may have to drink cobra blood. Sometimes soldiers even eat geckos and scorpions during this training. The exercise is overseen by a Royal Thai military general. They explain to the US troops that drinking cobra blood is a good replacement for water if there's none around. It may sound extreme and scary, but it may save a soldier's life in the jungle. Even some hardcore Marines have to shut their eyes when doing this. It's just way too scary to be that close to a live cobra snake. If you were stuck in the jungle, what would you do? Perish from dehydration or drink cobra blood? Now let's move on to an even more dangerous military training exercise. This exercise is carried out by the Russian military. The Russian military is known for being incredibly tough. Russia's most elite special force is known as the Spetsnaz unit. And during their training, they shoot each other in the chest. The trainees wear body armor, while their commanders shoot them center mass. This is to give them confidence in a terrorist-controlled situation. Bullets may be flying by their heads and they need to get used to this. Take a look at this FSB operator not even flinching as bullets hit his chest. In another exercise, trainees have to return fire. They need to shoot at each other's heads, but just narrowly miss their unprotected faces. In another drill, a trainee has to shoot at targets. But while he's doing this, his trainers push him and shout in his ear, They also fire bullets right next to his ear. This is to simulate a real-life combat situation where bullets may be going off all around you. It's insanely stressful, but it does train them for the battlefield very well. But I think one of the most hardcore military units is the Philippine Navy SEALs. And that's because they have to go through what's known as Drunk Hell Week. This is where they don't sleep for an entire week. They only get 1 hour of rest every day. The average human is supposed to sleep 63 hours per week, but they only sleep for 7 hours during Drunk Hell Week. They also perform extreme exercises every day. They also have to run 6 miles without stopping and also do target practice as well. And to top it all off, they have to swim 18 miles. But if you thought that was hard, then they have to do this while intoxicated with alcohol. They have to drink lots of liquor all week long. This makes it hard for them to aim and exercise, and also makes their tiredness even worse. So you can see why they call it Drunk Hell Week. Anyone who passes out will not pass Hell Week, and will not make it into the Philippine Navy SEALs. Now let's look at a very scary military exercise involving fire. The military of Belarus is known for being very hardcore. Belarus is the last dictatorship in Europe, and their military is known as being super tough. The Belarusian Special Forces have to do what's known as the Fire Walk. This is an assault course which has fire all over it. Sometimes they need to walk through the fire, and at other times break bricks set on fire using their heads. The Belarusian Special Forces have been involved in many covert operations, including the assassination of opposition politicians. Another very feared military unit is the UK Royal Marines. The Royal Marines have to complete a 32-week training course. The worst part of this course is known as the mud run. They are exhausted and covered in terrible smelling mud. They have to run and crawl through 20 miles of mud. The mud is so thick they can barely move. They also have to lift very heavy logs in this mud. They have to do this as a team, which improves their strength and cohesion. Now let's look at one more very scary military exercise. If you have a fear of drowning, this one will terrify you. This is done by the US Navy SEALs, and the exercise is known as drown-proofing. Drown-proofing is a crazy exercise. US Navy SEALs have their arms and legs tied. They're then pushed into a pool of water. Once in the water, they have to bob in the water for 5 minutes. They then have to float for 5 minutes and then swim for 100 meters, all while their legs and arms are tied. They then have to dive to the bottom of the pool to retrieve an object using just their teeth. But that's when things get really crazy. Their instructor then jumps into the pool and starts attacking them. This is to simulate combative drowning. If you weren't scared of drowning before this training, then you will be now. You can see why the Navy SEALs only have a 9.5% pass rate. But now it's time for you to make your voice heard. Comment down below which was the craziest military training exercise. If you want to see some short videos, then check out my second channel. I've been Charlie, thanks for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. And if you haven't already, then what are you waiting for? Subscribe to Top 10s.